ask that question again. So we're the Brisbane crew, and we'd like to know, yeah, who you are. Just a little
Sure.
bit.
So let's do this again. Take two. I'm George Hallam. I kind of run external relations at Ethereum. So that sees me, working a lot with meetups around the world, doing a lot of sort of outreach, working with some other entities outside of Ethereum that are interested in technology. Basically sort of focusing on the core remits of the foundation. So if you look at the foundation mission statement, we focus on education, development, and research. So for instance, I might be helping bring some researchers together to help figure out like a hard problem. So for instance, at the moment, Vitalik is doing a lot of work in scalability. So looking at sharding and the proposals, bringing guys from Cornell and various different universities around the world. Or I might be doing something in regard to education. So running a hackathon, working with an external group to allow a bunch of people to build some awesome stuff on Ethereum, something like that. And that's kind of what I focus on, just the helping people interact with Ethereum external to the foundation itself.
Cool. Thank you very
And,
much.
yeah, sorry, I've been at the foundation for around about 2 years now, and yeah, it's been a crazy adventure, but it's been pretty awesome as well.
So we have a few questions as well, and we know that you haven't got a lot of time.
Yeah,
so
we'll do our best.
When is proof of stake going to be, and how is it going to work? Is it going to be overnight, transitioning, or how's it going to work?
Did you hear that question?
So proof of stake and how it's going to be implemented.
Good mic.
Yeah. Just about, yeah. So proof of stake, obviously we're kind of just about finishing up with the second proof of stake. We're still working on formally verifying it, so testing all the edge cases, making sure that it is impenetrable, it's anti-fragile, all these kind of things that we want to get out from the proof of stake mechanism. In terms of so in terms of when it will actually come, we'll see. We don't like to put a date on these things too much because it is a case of it's ready when it's ready. We've got to make sure it's secure. We've got to make sure that it's not going to end up compromising the network. But that said, thinking around about sort of 12 months, maybe less, maybe more from now. Yeah, it's hard to put an exact date on it, but we are making very significant progress. If you're interested in following it a little closer, we do have a research channel, which I'd be happy to link Thomas up with, and you can join that channel. Anyone can join, and they can see our sort of research progress and the process as well, and they can join in on stand-ups for, say, the Casper like weekly stand-up or the scalability weekly stand-up and stuff. So we're more than happy for you guys to interact with us on that front. In terms of how we're going to roll out the proof of stake, what Vitalik's planned is a sort of hybrid mechanism whereby, first of all, we'll have version 1 of Casper, which we think is good, and we've obviously at that point shown the world what it is, and you've had a lot of people look over it, hopefully some of yourselves as well. We then have that running on the Ethereum testnet, with a bunch of incentives, bounties, I guess, to try and incentivize people to break it, to destroy it. If people can destroy it, great, we can fix it and make it better. If people can't destroy it, even better, it's looking pretty good. Once we're very happy with the stability and the security of the proof of stake mechanism, we will then begin running it alongside proof of work on the mainnet. So there'll be dual proof of stake, proof of work running at the same time. And what this means is that if anything does go wrong with the proof of stake mechanism, we can fall back, or proof of work is still there providing validation for the network itself. So we get the best of both. And then obviously once we're again super satisfied with the stability and security of Casper and everything is running perfectly as we intended, we will then remove the proof of work elements from the consensus entirely, and it will purely be proof of stake at that point. So we're taking a very sort of slow, step-by-step sort of method of moving forward with this, because we think that can afford us the best security for the network as a whole. If that makes sense. Next question.
So it may be a bit of a newbie question, but would you mind giving us a bit of an overview of who you guys are as the Ethereum Foundation?
Sure. So the Ethereum Foundation is a Swiss non-profit organization, which was built originally around the early Ethereum. It's on the side entity handled the Ethereum pre-sale back in November, back in July 2014 through to August. And essentially, the role of the foundation is to currently continue to guide development of the ecosystem and the protocol itself. Again, sticking to the core remits of development of the protocol, research to better the protocol, and education, so people understand how to use the protocol. It's a we're not a for-profit entity. We're not interested in those sort of things. We're purely focusing on just sort of using the funds of the foundation to continue to better the ecosystem as a whole. So we have things like dev grants as well, or we also sometimes do our own grants as well. We help put bounties out for people to build specific things. So recently, for example, Ethereum Foundation and our dev grants platform, we funded a open source mining platform, which has also got Stratum integrations. So what we want to do is help sort of democratize the mining a bit. There was a lot of mining taking place with one singular pool. So we decided, that it was worth our while for, and the ecosystem as well, to put down some money to help another group build an open source mining platform. And now, anyone can use that platform, which means that hopefully mining pools will be more equal in terms of the service that they're able to offer. And that hopefully means the distribution of the hashing power will be more equal around all the pools itself. So you get a bit better overall distribution. That's the kind of things that we like to work on at the foundation, is continuing to move the protocol forward, continuing to move the technology forward, and mostly focusing on the public blockchain itself.
All right, very interesting. So you got the original funding came from the crowd sale, and is that where all the funding came from? And do you have any other sponsors or anything like that, or is it all still from the crowd sale?
It's all from the crowd sale. So obviously, the Ethereum Foundation does have a portion of Ether. I think the last time I checked, it was something like 1.8 million Ether or something like that. There is a recent article from Vitalik whereby he describes our recent financial sort of bearing, and that gives us a runway for around about sort of 4 to 5 years. At a $6 Ether price. So we have funds, and we're going to be sticking around for a while. At that point, we will then sort of begin considering other funding mechanisms should we require it. But for now, the foundation is pretty safe in that respect. And this is another thing as well, is obviously, especially with the protocol itself, there's going to be a lot of other entities that are going to begin to take part in the development and the continued research. So it's not all going to be the foundation. We obviously, the Ethereum Foundation released Frontier, and played a very big part in Homestead. But now you're getting groups like EthCore, who are building their own Rust. You've got Roman Mandalil's Java clients. Consensus are building Haskell clients as well. So it's not just going to be the foundation's Python, C++, and Go clients. So what we want to do is we want to create an environment whereby the other groups who are also sort of going to be contributing to the protocol code, give them a voice, make sure they have their say, and basically open up the process. The foundation, it was obviously incredibly important in the early days of Ethereum. Now we're starting to build a really strong ecosystem. We want to be able to filter out the power and give more back to the ecosystem itself. And I think that's important in terms of decentralizing everything as well. Cool.
So, I think it's amazing what you guys have done, going from the crowd sale to this organization that kind of just funds these little initiatives and gets it all in progress. So would you tell us a bit about DAOs, like your opinion on how DAOs are going to take off, and have you guys already tried work on them as to get the Ethereum Foundation using something like that?
Sure. I mean, so I think DAOs are, obviously incredible. They're a great idea. We've been thinking about them for a very long time. Obviously, recently we've had the DAO, which has come along, and that's very much brought the idea to the forefront. It's not a new idea. I think originally it was the BitShares guys that first started looking at the idea of sort of DACs and DAOs. But it turns out that the Ethereum smart contract system is very competent if you're looking to design such a structure. I think DAOs will play a very large part of the future. I've spoken to a lot of large sort of business science groups that are very interested in how businesses will change as time goes on. I mean, it's a completely fundamentally different way of looking at how an organization should be structured. And what comes associated with that is, there's a lot of unknowns. Like, I think DAOs are still very, very nascent. And there's a lot, I mean, thank goodness that we have, the likes of the DAO Hub guys and Slockit and all these various different groups that are working hard to explore this space, because this is the point. It's got to be done now. I think in the future there's absolutely an opportunity for the Ethereum Foundation to explore abstracting its governance onto a DAO-like platform. I mean, it's definitely something that we're looking into. What we want to see is obviously greater exploration, greater precedent, exploration of potentially some of the legal issues. It'd be nice to have a real solid platform, which is very much taking place. I mean, if you look at, for instance, I think it's DAOlink, they're now offering a service which will enable any entity ever to interact with a DAO, and it handles all the legal sort of scenarios associated with that and stuff. So we're really starting to see acceptance and opportunity for traditional entities to interact with the DAO, and I think there's going to be many other DAO. I mean, I'm not so sure about the naming choices for the DAO. I think it can be a bit confusing because you don't really know what I'm talking about, and you can kind of end up confusing yourself as well. But no, I think it's, as I said, definitely something that we can explore in the future, and it's only going to get stronger and stronger. I think we've already had success with the Digix DAO. We've had great success with the DAO. I think there's going to be more instances of I think Plutus.it, the British payment system built on top of Ethereum, which does Bitcoin payments. I think they're doing a DAO-like crowd sale. I mean, it may well transpire that the killer application for Ethereum is crowdfunding or pre-sales, because you're able to do it in its entirety on top of the network, and instead of someone like Kickstarter taking their 10%, the smart contracts take penny shavings, dollar shavings, less than that even. So it's very compelling, very exciting. But what I want to see is just more time and maturation of the technology and the way that it's viewed in the space, because I think there's still quite a lot of immaturity. We need to see it grow and blossom. Can we do one more question? I've kind of got to shoot.
I've got one. Does the foundation see that it has a role in activism as various governments and regulators are planning to enact various additional regulation over specifically Ethereum?
So it's a difficult question. So it's not so much about activism. It's not it's more about education. So creating and establishing dialogues, working with other groups, for example, who are liaising with and educating legislators and regulators. So for example, in the UK, you have the UK DCA, which is the UK United Kingdom Digital Currency Association, and they have done incredibly excellent work in terms of educating the people who are making these decisions, which is now, as a consequence, the UK probably has one of the best regulatory and legislative environments to interact with crypto as an industry. You see, like blockchain.info is based in the UK, moved to the UK. We have Prime Minister David Cameron saying that cryptocurrencies are great, and he's very happy to continue to let the industry grow. Essentially, the UK is a leader in financial technology, and the government very much recognizes that. As a consequence, they are very happy to provide grants, support, and generally just keep a very light touch on regulation as the industry grows. And I think they're taking absolutely the correct route in that respect. So for an example, recently I think it was Traminex, as a UK company, they were given a £230,000 grant from Innovate UK, which is a government organisation which delivers grants to innovative startups, using Ethereum to allow for international money moving, remittance, I guess is the term I'm looking for. So yeah, I think it's not so much us per se, as there are other groups that are more competent at, engaging with I don't want to say lobbying, but engaging with the individual entities around the world. And we're very happy to work with them. And if it then transpires that there is an opportunity for us to talk about Ethereum to a legislator, then we will take it. But it's mostly about keeping an open dialogue and letting them know what your intentions are, and asking as well, just sort of asking, is this okay? Do we have the authority to do this, etc. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Cool. Yeah, I'm really sorry I can't stay longer, everyone. If you're having another meetup soon, I'd be more than happy to join you again and answer more questions. Always happy to join in, but unfortunately, I've got to shoot off. I've got a meeting in the town. But it's been a pleasure talking to you all briefly, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you very much, George.
No worries. Bye, everyone. Have a good day. Oh, good evening.